Hey everyone, Graham here from the recordingrevolution.com, and today I want to show you a tip on how to mix your piano samples, whether it's a virtual piano that you're using software, or whether it's a keyboard that you're tracking and you've got this awful piano sound or mediocre piano sound, and you would love it to sound like you really mic'd up a piano in the mix. Maybe you don't have the space for a piano, many of us don't, or you just don't have access to a live piano. Keyboards are great, virtual pianos are great, but sometimes they just don't sound as real as they could. I ran into this on a project I did last summer, and we were miking up everything. Everything sounded great, but it was very piano heavy, and we just didn't have access to a piano in those 2 days that I was there to record. There's nothing we could do about it. So we used a decent keyboard. It was a nice Korg, had a decent piano patch on it, and that's the best we could do. So take a listen to the piano sound, and then I'll show you what it sounds like with a little bit of EQ. That's all you need to bring it to life, and I'll show you how I got it. Here it is raw. And then here it is fixed. Right? It's much more alive, much more open, and sounds less like a condensed, muffled sample. So take a look at what we're doing here. I'm going to pull up just the SSL G channel here, but really any EQ will do this. I'm going to show you the frequencies I'm using on this particular keyboard track and exaggerate them a bit so you can hear it, and then you get the idea of what I was trying to do with an EQ. Just disregard everything on the right side if you're not familiar with this plugin. The EQ is on the left. So the first thing I did on this track was I had to get rid of some of that low end. So I've got a simple high pass filter here, right? I've rolled it up to about 100 hertz. This track, I didn't need the piano to be really bassy and beefy, so I just rolled off everything up to 100. Pretty standard. But then let's jump to the bottom of the EQ and I'll show you what I had to work on. The track sounded really muffled to me. Take a listen. So what I did is go hunting for some low-mid stuff, and I think I found around 400 hertz. This is 417, and I took out 4 dB. Take a listen to what this frequency sounds like. Right? Real boxy and just fake. So I dialed that out about 3-4 dB. That was my first thing. I wanted to go get rid of things that were just not adding to the sound. And then in the a little bit higher in the low mids, around 800 hertz, I found some more nastiness that it looked like I took out about 3.5 dB. Take a listen to what this frequency was. So to me, that's the cheap sound. It just sounds like a cheap sample. So I kind of swept around for some. I knew there was some frequency there, and all I did was go looking for what sounded really bad, and that was really bad to me. So I scooped that out about 3.5 dB. So those are my first two fixes. You go find the low mid stuff that is really making it sound muffled, cheap, like a toy piano. You want to get rid of those frequencies. That's going to help reveal whatever is left that you can salvage. And then that's what I did with the upper two bands of this EQ. This is a 4-band EQ. So the upper two bands, I went hunting for the really good frequencies to make this piano sound more alive. So here, just a little bit up from the bad frequencies, we're at 1.2 kilohertz. I found something that sounded really sweet. Take a listen. Now, in an extreme setting, it sounds a little weird, but that frequency is I wanted the attack of the keys. If I had mic'd up a piano, I would love to have the mics kind of closer to the hammers hitting the strings. You feel the attack. It's a very percussive instrument, right? Piano. So you could have a great sounding sample, but if it doesn't have elements of that percussive attack of the keyboard, then it's missing out on some realism. So I went looking for that, and I found it at 1.2, and so I boosted that by 3 dB to bring out a little bit of that hammering. And then finally I had to go searching for the air, the life, and I found this at 6.5K. Take a listen to what this sounds like. That's the realism right there. Again, you get some of that percussiveness of the keys, but that's where it sounds airy and realistic to me. Just opens up the top end. Pianos should sound crisp. In this case, I wanted a crisp open piano. So that was the second frequency that when I went looking for it, it opened up sort of the realism of the piano patch that I knew was in there. And, you know, once I found it, I dialed it back to something reasonable like 3 dB of a boost. So as far as EQ goes, which is really what turns this sound around, high pass it up to 100, and then go looking for the frequency or frequencies in the low and low mid that are really boxy, really small, toy, fake sounding, and carve those out a bit. Just get that out, scoop out what's nasty, and that will leave the better stuff. And in this case, the sample was still so muted, I had to go find the good stuff and show it to the listener a little bit more. Let it poke out a little bit more with a couple of 3 dB boosts on those upper mid ranges. So for me, it was 1.2 and 6.5 on this specific piano patch. Then I just did a little bit of light compression, 2-to-1 ratio here, and just have an auto attack, medium release, and all it's doing is maybe about 3 dB of gain reduction. Let's watch this light here. Right, so it's doing max 3 dB, 4 dB of gain reduction on the peaks, and on this compressor, it has an auto makeup gain, so it's bringing up the overall level of the lower hits to kind of match the upper hits, just with a little touch of compression. This isn't much, so that brings out these frequencies even more. So you go from a muted, kind of mild, nasty sample it sounds like a sample to this. A lot more alive, and then you just pair that with a little bit of room reverb and you're good to go. Kind of a transformation, huh? That's what EQ can do for you. Hope that gives you some ideas of what you can try with your virtual pianos or your sample keyboard tracks if you don't have access to a real piano. A little EQ goes a long way. And thanks for watching. This is Graham from therecordingrevolution.com. I hope your new year is starting off swimmingly, and we hope to see you on another video soon. Take care.